Good morning, church. Good to be with you here today. And we're going to be talking about Jesus walking on the water. Immediately he made his disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side, to Bethsaida. While he dismissed the crowd, after he had said goodbye to them, he went away to the mountain to pray. Well into the night the boat was in the middle of the sea, and he was alone on the land. He saw them straining at the oars because the wind was against them. Very early in the morning he came toward them walking on the sea and wanted to pass by them. When they saw him walking on the sea, they thought it was a ghost and cried out because they all saw him and were terrified. Immediately he spoke with them and said, "Have courage, it is I, don't be afraid." Then he got into the boat with them, and the wind ceased. They were completely astounded because they had not understood about the loaves. Instead, their hearts were hardened. So this is quite the passage. Comes right after the feeding of the 5,000. Matthew and John also record this event, Matthew adding in Peter walking on the water. But Matthew and John have Jesus look like he's intending to walk towards the boat. But Mark thinks that Jesus was intending to pass them by. And that's a troublesome rendition that makes us think like Jesus saw their trouble and was just going to walk by them and get to the other shore. That can't possibly be the case because there's never a situation when Jesus just leaves people, sees their trouble, and goes on by. That's the attitude the disciples had about Jesus, so maybe they had a perception that he would do that. Or remember yesterday in the boat, he was sleeping and they thought he was just going to sleep their drowning away and peacefully go into the deep. But that's not how Jesus operates, not ever. And we can get a clue to what pass them by might mean if we go to Exodus 33, and Moses wants to see the glory of the Lord. Moses says, "Let me see your glory." And he said, that's God, "I will cause all my goodness to pass in front of you, and I will proclaim the name of the Lord before you. I will be gracious on whom I will be gracious, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion." But he added, "You cannot see my face, for humans cannot see me and live." The Lord said, "Here is a place near me. You are to stand on the rock, and when my glory passes by, I will put my hand over you until I have passed by." And so perhaps we have this connection to that event in Exodus where Jesus was intending to pass by, revealing his glory and showing the reality of who he is. He had just spent all night praying up on the mountain while the disciples were struggling. And we can note that he did not hurry out of prayer to go to the disciples and take them out of the situation that they were in. He waited until God, we would assume, this is an assumption, until he and God had finished their time of communion. And then Jesus was going out to reveal his glory. And the disciples, misunderstanding who Jesus is, one, thinks he's a ghost, and two, thinks that he's just going to walk past them, leave them in their troubles, until Jesus says, "Have courage, it is I, don't be afraid," gets in the boat, and they make it safely to shore. Don't mistake who Jesus is or where he's at in your life. He might appear in unlikely places. When we're in the midst of that storm, keep your eyes open. Cry out to Jesus. Call on him and listen to him when he says, "Have courage, it is I. Don't be afraid."